quick little video on how to set up the 360 12 strings. Just some quick things you can do at home and things you can check. The first guitar I'm going to show you is a newer 360 12 string made about 2007, 2008. Nothing fancy, but what I had done to this guitar is I took the high gains out and put the 7.4 scatter wand pickups in. They sound awesome. And with this guitar here, I had trouble with the intonation on it. So I went to a 12 saddle bridge with the Kevlar coating on it. I got from Roman Guitars in Las Vegas. And I love the bridge. I love it. No string breakage, nothing. I've had nothing but good luck. But the major thing that I went to was the Thomasik flats, the flat wand strings, and I never had a bit of problems with them. And I've tried compressed wands. I tried every type of non-flat wand string in this, and they just don't intonate right. Even with the 12 saddle bridge, I couldn't get it right to my ear. But with these on here, they're awesome. And they've been on there almost 2 years now. And they sound great. And it seems like the older they get, the better they sound. Just keep them clean. Wipe them down when you're done. And going up the neck here, I'll show you what I do to adjust the neck song to get them to play right. I take the nameplate off the truss rod cover, and I have the old style truss rod block in there. I had them made that in California. They slip right in there, and I have no more neck issues. With this one, when I got it, that truss rod blank, or that block that was in there that the nuts just up against, it was sort of bent, and it was bending, and I always had to take the cover off and tighten down the truss rod. I got tired of it. So I had these made, no more neck issues. None. So what I do on these, I know this is a no-no, and I shouldn't even be telling anybody this, but I do it here. Rickenbacker has a nut driver for these, which is probably the best thing to use. You know, I would advise getting one, but I got myself a 1/4-inch wrench here with an extension on it, with a deep wall socket, a thin wall deep wall socket, and you come up here and you put it on your nuts. But you got to be very, very careful, because this thing has a lot of torque. And what I do is I just use my fingers to turn it. And this is not recommended. I wouldn't recommend it if you don't know what you're doing. Get yourself the regular truss rod, the regular nut driver, so it'll slip in your hand. But if there's any kind of resistance, do not turn them. If you decide to do this, do not turn it, because you'll snap that truss rod. So just be very, very, very careful when you use this tool. And it's, like I said, it's not recommended. But you know, I don't even know why I'm doing it, showing it. But like I said, it works for me. I just barely use my fingers like that, and it works great. But coming back for the neck adjustment, as most of you know, you get your capo when you put it your first fret, then come down to your last fret, hold down your last fret there. And what I do is, while I'm holding that down, I got the capo on around the 7th fret, I adjust the neck so I have just a tiny bit of backbone in it. I got this guitar here to where there's about 4 thousandths in there on the bass side and the treble side. Just a little bit of downward travel on it. And I tried this guitar with the neck straight, and I like just a hair of bow in the neck. You know, and that's the way I have the other one set up too, which I'll show you in a minute. But that works out good for me. You know, you adjust your nuts up your truss rod nuts up the other end, and you get your neck straight however you like it. But I just like a tad of backbone in it. And you can get a feeler gauge you get from an auto parts store or something, and you know, get out your 4 thousandths, whatever that would be, and take your under the fret here while you're holding it down at the one end with the capo, and you should have just a little bit of drag on there. You want about 4 or 5 thousandths of an inch, which works out really, really well for me. I love it. And this guitar here plays like butter. There's no intonation problems. There's no string breakage. It stays in tune. It's just a pleasure to play. You don't have to fight it. And that's about it with this one. And I will move over here to the V64. This one here, I purchased, it was under a guy's bed for 20 years. It was never even out of the box. Not a scratch on it, not a scratch in the case. I just happened to luck into a music store one day, and he walked in wanting to sell it. And I'm not going to tell you what I paid for it. But I was able to put the Thomasik flat wounds on this one and stick with a 6-saddle bridge on it. It intonates absolutely perfect. The only thing I had to do to this bridge was on the low E, I had to take the spring out. So I would have more back travel for the string to intonate. That's the only thing I had to do on that. And both these guitars have the push-pull tone mod in there. And I keep this one activated all the time. I put a little piece of foam rubber on there so it stays out all the time instead of me bumping it and goes in. But that's what I did. I put the TIs on it. And we move down the neck here. And up here at the where you have the nameplate, I also put in up here, you know, your truss rod cover. Right here, your not the cover, but I mean the truss rod blocks underneath here, the old style, which I had made, like I said, I had made in California. And then I put the capo on the first fret here, and then held it down here at the last fret. And about the 7th fret here, I like to have about a 4/1000 gap between the fret and the string on both sides. And I'll tell you, both these guitars play like butter. They absolutely almost play themselves. So and I don't have any string breakage on either one. They stay in tune real well. And I think the big thing on these, you know, everybody has their own taste, but it's the Thomasik flat wands strings are incredible. I can't say enough about them. I've used many different types of strings, round wands, compressed rounds, everything. And I never could get these guitars right until I discovered these a few years ago. And it's worth the investment, the $30, $35, $40, whatever they're worth, because these strings have been on here a while on both these guitars, and they sound good. You keep them wiped down, you know, they sound incredible. And like I said before, it seems like the older they get, the better they sound. And, you know, that's about it. That's about all the modifications. And on this one here, this guitar came with the, I believe they were the 12 ohm, the hot toasters. And I opted for the 7.4 scatter wounds, which sound brighter to me. It's more or less the sound I was looking for. The other ones sounded good, but they were a little darker sounding. And I wasn't real thrilled with this. So I switched over to the 7.4s, and it's just what I was looking for. And that's about it. You know, when you get your let me move over to this guitar, it might be easier. When you fret that down there and you under the 7th fret there, you get your feeler gauge about 4/1000. Then you're going to want to come down here. Your final step here will be adjusting your bridge height. And you do it with the 4 screws, you know. Bring it down to where it starts to buzz, and then turn it up, back it up 1 turn at a time maybe, and play it. And then get it to where you like it, and then on the final step would be adjusting your pickup heights. You have to adjust them to taste. If you want them close to the strings, you're going to get more volume. You want them away, you get less volume. And I guess that depends on how hard you play. But anyway, I hope this helped out. And it's just a few little tips that you can do at home, you know. And like I said, you know, don't be afraid to do it. But I would definitely invest in that Rickenbacker nut driver that you use. I wouldn't use that thing that I showed you, because you know, you put too much force on that, you're going to snap a truss rod, then you got big problems. So if you do use that wrench there, like I showed you, be very careful. If you know, it feels tight, do not go anymore because it'll snap. So, and the last thing I did, you could tell on this, let me get this out here. Get yourself an 18-inch machinist scale and lay it on the fretboard like that between the strings. And if you have any kind of rock in it, it'll rock about the 7th fret, 8th fret. You have too much bow in the neck. I mean, too much back bow. You know, and it'll rock. So you have to back them truss rod nuts off there to get that out. But you're actually able to see this rock up and down on the fret. And just back it off till you get it straight, till you get about 4 thousandths under that scale or under the string. You know, so that's a good way to check them at home all the time. I hope you got something out of this. And once again, these are great playing guitars. And the trick is to just keep them set up real nice. And, you know, if you keep about 4 thousandths under the neck, under the strings there at the 7th fret, you should be on your way. It should play perfect. Okay, until we make another video, we'll see everybody then. Bye-bye.